The show for today, we're talking to Miss Frankie Henry and Miss Smith. And of course, Miss Smith, we promised the last time that we would give you an opportunity to sort of elaborate upon the community activities in reference to some of the things that you were involved in before the movement. And then Miss Henry will also give us some information following that. And you should also say something. I understand that you were involved with the so-called Freedom Rides. And so we certainly want you to speak to that. Let's start with you.
I was a student at Tennessee State University. I had started school in '59. And just like Miss Henry, I had not thought about segregation. I was just wrapped on becoming educated, you say. And when I started with the movement, I started realizing that things were not the same as they were in my neighborhood. When I went downtown as a little girl, we would see white people, but you didn't think much about it. And your parents protected you, and when you went back in your neighborhood, you went to the same schools, same churches, everybody knew everybody, and they were protective of us. And we didn't have any reason to even think about things that were wrong. But once I did, I said, well, if I can help do something, I will. And when I went on the Freedom Ride, that's when I really became totally involved. I was arrested on May 28th in Jackson, Mississippi, and I spent 39 days in jail. Part of that was in Parchman Penitentiary. And in jail, it was kind of, they tried to intimidate us and stuff like that, but we made it okay without being, I personally was not attacked or anything like that, but they tried to work on your mind mostly. And when we came back from jail, we did the stand-ins or the picketing at H.G. Hills. And that was just about my extent with the movement. I did go back to school because, of course, we were put out of, we were expelled from Tennessee State for going on the Freedom Ride. And I eventually went back to school after we were exonerated. And I did not complete my education, but I did get in 2.5 years, so that was my experience.
But it's so much courage that has to be involved with the two of you. Now, you sort of stumbled into the movement in a real sense.
Yes, I did.
Even after getting there, there was so much terror that was associated with this movement that somehow it seems that it would have been difficult for me to have maintained any kind of anything. I think I would have been too fearful in a real sense to have been involved in the movement because, see, I'm from Arkansas.
Okay.
And we understood. I was at EMcClain College in Pinebluff, Arkansas, and we had 2,000 students there. And out of those 2,000 students, only 8 went down to protest, you know, the sit-in when y'all started in Nashville. You see, only 8 went down, you see. And most of us, because we were embarrassed, didn't want to admit that we were fearful and etc., we stood around and we pointed at them, you see, saying that they didn't understand the terror of the white man, the Ku Klux Klan, and et cetera, et cetera. And so it took a lot of courage, you see, to become involved in it the way that the two of you were, especially knowing what I know about the Freedom Rides, Ms. Smith, that had to be a very, very terrifying experience because were you on the bus that was burned?
No, I was not. And I did not go when the students from Tennessee State took up the Freedom Ride after the Anniston burning. I stayed here and went to school and I sympathized with them. But one thing, my family asked me not to. And so I thought about it and I knew they were leaving the next day before I actually left. But after an incident on a West End bus, hearing something that someone said, that's when it hit me that I was supposed to be going on the Freedom Ride. And so I went home, got off the Jefferson Street bus, went to the office, asked could I still go. I was told I could. I went home and I called my mother. I said, I'm going. And this time she did not say, please don't. She said, okay, if you have to. So that's what I did, and I was gone.
That was just a development of growing consciousness among a lot of folks, among the students and among the parents and the people of understanding finally exactly what the whole thing was all about and that somebody had to go.
Yeah, it was like I had to complete what I started.
Somebody had to go. And I know we've got about 5 minutes here, Frankie. Let's give you an opportunity to talk about your stint in jail.
Oh yes, after about 5 minutes after the white lady put the cigarette out on my arm, we were arrested. We were taken to jail, fingerprinted, taken mug shots, and my parents at that time saw me on 6 o'clock news. Now, I'm very afraid because my father probably thought I was in the library. And I didn't have any way of knowing that he had seen me until we were arrested, and they said, your parents are downstairs to get you out. But I was caught up in the singing and in all of, I mean, it ran from heart to heart, the impact that this movement, yes. So I sent a message back to my parents that I'm not leaving until the rest of them leave. So we stayed in jail over 2 weeks. They tried us one by one, and they didn't let the first person leave until they had tried everyone. But the lockup was very traumatic to me because at that time, it was in February, about 20, 22 degrees, and we had to sleep on the cold steel beds with the air holes in it, but no mattresses, covers, pillows, or anything. And we had to do this every night. But we kept each other spirits up by singing Negro spirituals, our freedom songs, and Diane and Angeline Butler, they kind of really clinged to me because they knew that this was new to me. A very important impact is when we got out, Diane Nash and Marion Barry took me home because the rest of the students went to the campus, either Fisk, Tennessee A&I, American Baptist, but I was a local girl, so I had to go cross town. And they had put my name in the paper with the address, and I was very upset because the white hecklers had come by and thrown rotten eggs and bricks and rocks through the home of my parents. And that upset me. But my father was so proud of me, he said, don't worry about it. Now, I had 18 hours, I was a sophomore, and we had the quarter system at that time, and they gave me 18 hours of F's. And contacted my parents and told them that I couldn't attend Tennessee State anymore. But I did go back in '66, and I graduated, got my BA in 70 and my master's in 73.
Very good. Now, Ms. Smith, we've got about a minute and a half. What would you say to young people today in terms of trying to understand the legacy and to do better than they are doing?
I think if all the young people would try to learn more about the things that happened in the past and not try to sweep it under the rug, that they would understand more about what's happening today. We didn't just start out being able to do everything you wanted to do, being treated the way you wanted to be treated, and that way you would understand where people are coming from when they treat you the wrong way. They need to know also. Yesterday I was at a school where the professor said the faculty needs to be here. The students enjoyed it and they are learning more, but the faculty also needs to be here, because how can you teach people not to hate if you don't know what it means to be hated? Thank you.
Very good. And of course, Ms. Henry, we've got about half a minute.
That's my same sentiment, my same sentiment. Yes, with the young children. I taught for 35 years at one school, and I try to educate the children that you need to know your past in order to go forward.
Very good, and I think that's a sentiment that both of us, all three of us, agree with, and I'm certain that Ms. McClain also agrees with that. And let me thank the two of you for giving us that excellent information, and let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you, and good morning.